I've been shopping at a used bookstore, McKay's Used Books in Manassas, Virginia. I spent $30.59. What did I get? Hello, welcome to my channel. Another bibliophile reads. My name is Greg, and the other day I went shopping at McKay's Books. I spent $30.59, and I wanted to show you what treasures I found out there. And I have just recently finished my Read What You Own challenge, where I challenged myself to read 25,000 pages before buying another book of books that I already owned. I sort of failed that challenge, but it's over, and I'm free to buy books again, at least until next November. Now, I am going to show you these books roughly in purchase price. So we'll be going from the cheapest book to the most expensive book. And here we have The Deadly Deep by John Messman. From the angry seas, the jaws of horror begin to devour all mankind. A novel of terrifying possibility. This only cost me 75 cents. Some of the book description is covered by the price sticker, but here's an interesting bit to begin with. This is the opening thing on the first page. The two lovers had fallen asleep on the beach, exhausted by their violently spent passions. Now the man woke, and in the silvery light of the moon, he saw the blue crabs coming out of the sea, and there was nothing but solid mass of shells and waving claws. I guess this is a horror novel, even though I found it in the science fiction section. And what is wonderful about these old books, this was originally released in 2076. You've got cigarette ads. I know smoking's bad for you and no one should smoke, but you don't get to see cigarette ads anymore. And this is for Max cigarettes. And there's a wonderful lady. She's stylishly dressed for the 1976. And this doesn't seem like a woman's book, at least to me, at least not for most women, especially for women at the time. But the other side of the cigarette is the man's cigarette. This is, after all I'd heard, I decided to either quit or smoke True. I smoke True. And True was once a brand of cigarettes. Okay, where we have King of Argent by John T. Philemfant. This is a DOS science fiction book, and I picked it up just because it was a DOS science fiction book. And most of these DOS science fiction books are snatched up in used bookstores rather quickly. I have never heard of this book or this author before, but at 75 cents, do I really care? I'll read from the inside cover. Here you are, John Lamport, king in your own little kingdom. That's you, Leo Borkat said. I will make you a Superman. And you jumped at it. My father said, I will give you a whole planet. And you jumped at that too. A sword? What's the next thing to have to make a crown? And this cover is just sort of weirdly funky. It's like it's an LSD dream or something. I don't know. Oh, it's got illustrations too. A lot of these old ball paperbacks had illustrations. And this was published originally in 1973. Okay, I got some classic science fiction. This is E. Doc Smith. This is the Family D'Alembert series with Stephen Golden. Or Golden, I guess he co-authored it. This is Imperial Stars. There's something about a galactic empire. You can see it's 75 cents. And again, the cover is Taking up the story description, I guess it doesn't really matter. I need to read some Doc Smith. I never have. I only picked these up because they're 75 cents each. And this is book 2 in that series. When was this series published? I'm kind of curious. Let's see. Copyright by 1975 by Vera Smith Trust Trail. So who knows? Again, 75 cents for this little trilogy of old science fiction books. Probably I can get them on Kindle for about the same price, but these old paperbacks are just so much fun to have on your shelves. All right, now on to some mystery. There was a booktuber, I think it was Book Chat with Pat, who talked about her reading of the Spencer series by Robert B. Parker, and this is the Godwolf manuscript, and this is the first book in the Parker series, and it is originally published in 1973, and it is 75 cents. I did read this probably in the early aughts. I don't remember a lot about it. So I'm going to try this Parker series, not Parker, the Spencer series by Parker again. And does it say anything interesting? It says the university is missing an illuminated medieval manuscript, and the private eye is in the dark, finding dead bodies, an underground cult, and one very terrified girl. And I picked up another Spencer book. This is Looking for Rachel Wallace, 75 cents. Rachel Wallace is a tough young woman with a lot of enemies. Spencer is a tough guy with a macho code of honor, hired to protect a woman who thinks that the kind of code is obsolete. Privately, they will never see eye to eye. This one is 1980. More Spencer books. I won't bother with the plot on all these Spencer books. This one is 1984. And again, 75 cents. Another Spencer book, Double Deuce. And this one is from 1992, 75 cents. Promised Land, a Spencer novel. And this one is from 1976. Can you guess the price? 75 cents. A Catskill Eagle, a Spencer novel from 1985, 75 cents. And this is my mistaken purchase. This is Robert B. Parker. This is Night Passage, but this is a Jesse Stone novel. I grabbed it because you get it. 75 cents. It was on the shelf. Why not pick it up? And this is from 1997. The next two books I found in the science fiction section. They don't really belong there, but Alistair MacLean, Circus, originally published in 1975. When circus aerialist and mentalist Bruno Wildermann is recruited by the CIA for a mission that only someone with his incredible talents could undertake, he is aware that he holds the key to the world's survival in his hands. His assignment is to break into the infamous Loborn prison in Eastern Europe, where a deadly secret is hidden, a formula capable of annihilating the Earth itself, and he is to memorize it and destroy it. But even before Bruno begins his terrifying assignment, the assassins are already in motion. Now, I think this is just a fantastic cover. You can see an aerialist falling from the high wire with his bicycle. I don't know. It's just so 70s and so much fun, so interesting to look at. And again, only 75 cents. Are you getting the impression that I'm a big spender? Okay, another Alistair MacLean book found in the science fiction section. Fear is the Key. Unfortunately, it's 90 cents, and a lot of the description is covered with the price tag. But what does it say? It's front cover. Psycho. Talbert, he said slowly. John Talbert, the killer. That's me, I agreed. The killer. No, he said, there's more to you than that. And the Larry boy is going to persuade you to tell us all about it. Can I? Can I really? The eagerness on Larry's face was frightening. He advanced toward me, wetting his lips continuously and almost giggling. The inside of the right thigh, high up. He'll scream like a pig under the knife. And then the left thigh. His eyes were wide and staring, the voice a high and horrible falsetto. For the first time in my life, I felt naked fear and the sure knowledge that I could betray not only myself, but all the others. And this was originally published in 1961. It has this cover of a plane wreck under the sea and someone diving down to investigate. It has a Brentano sticker. I don't know if people remember Brentanos, but that was their form of price tag on the cover. It was originally just $2.50. And again, I spent 90 cents. Now for some more science fiction. This is Larry Niven, A Gift from Earth. I can't remember if this is a novel or short stories. It may be a novel. The world named Mount Lookthrat, look at that, was never meant for humans. It was shrouded in lethal mists. Life only existed on one plateau, unreachable except from space. But the disastrous decision to colonize the planet could not be reversed. So the settlers survived somehow under a ruthless dictatorship. Mount Look at That was a rebellion proof. Then fate dealt the colonists a wild card named Matthew Keller, who had a talent that neither he nor anyone else knew about. At last, the colonists had a glimmer of hope. Of course, Larry Niven is more famous for his Ringworld science fiction novels, probably his most famous. And this was originally published in 1968. It cost me $1. Larry Niven, The Long Arm of Gil Hamilton. This is a science fiction mystery novel. When it was first published, I remember Isaac Asimov, before reading the book, says you can't have a mystery science fiction novel because in science fiction, almost anything is possible, and therefore you cannot deduce the mystery from the story. Well, Larry Niven sort of proved Isaac Asimov wrong. I did read this in high school. Again, I can't remember. This is a full novel. Yeah, this is a novel. This is not short stories. And it's about Gil Hamilton. Gil Hamilton was more than an operative for ARM, the elite global police force. He was an essential. His intuition was peerless. His psychic powers were devastating, and his raw courage took him from the depths of inner and outer space, but where others feared to tread. But Gil Hamilton had enemies, many enemies. Some were my eyesight without glasses, the Argeners, those murderous dealers in illicit transplants. Others were just ordinary killers around any corner. Gil could probably find someone waiting to kill him. In order to stay alive and operating, he always had to be armed for death. And this novel was originally published in, let's take a look, 1976. And I spent $1. Okay, don't judge me. Don't dislike me because I bought this book. This author has been getting a very bad reputation recently. He has allegedly done something very inappropriate sexually, and he has not given an adequate account of his own actions. So he may be a very naughty man doing illegal things sexually, or maybe not illegal, but inappropriate sexual activity. But I picked up Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman just because I've always wanted to read this book. And the bookstore had a number of copies on the shelf. Maybe they had a number of copies on the shelf because people were avoiding this author at this time. But I wanted to read it. This is about the underground in London. And that's just a fascinating place to think about, all the London subways. So I bought it. Don't get too mad at me. I spent $2.99 at a used bookstore. So Neil Gaiman is not getting a penny from me. Okay, this is my pièce de résistance. This is the book that made my whole trip to McKay's absolutely worth it. This is Slob by Rex Miller. If you look at Amazon, Amazon is selling this edition for $252. No thank you, Amazon. I would not pay $252 for this paperback book. Thrift Books is a little more reasonable. They are selling it for $36 and change. And I got it for $3.74. This is a book that I'm pretty sure is featured in Paperbacks from Hell. Was originally published in 1987. It is an early splatterpunk book. Jack Etchard, a Chicago homicide detective, must trail his human monster, this genius killer, and his hostages deep into the labyrinth of sewers. Eckhart thinks he knows how savage and frenzied patterns of his quarry. He can guess at the number of his next victims, but does he guess that the one is going to be the woman he loves? Slob, a new peak of horror that explodes across the page like a volcanic fire. A little melodramatic in that description, but I'm happy to find this book. It's just a great price. It's actually in rather decent condition. The spine looks like it has been read maybe once or twice, but really, what a find. Okay, this is another great horror find. This is When Darkness Loves Us by Elizabeth Engstrom. I do have the Kindle version of this paperback, but the short story, and this is actually not short story, this book is 2 novellas. The first one, When Darkness Loves Us, is one of the best horror novellas I have ever read. It is truly chilling. It is essentially a story, I think it takes place in the 60s or 50s. It is about a pregnant teenage girl. She is recently married. Her husband owns a lot of land out in Virginia, and she's exploring this land, and she comes across the family tombs. And she enters these tombs. It's a big old door that leads to the tombs and gravesites in the back of this outbuilding. And as she's exploring this, she noticed that one of the walls is caved in the back, and there's a cave system underneath this tomb. And she looks into this. Well, I'll just look a little bit into these caves. And as she's stepping into this cave, her husband comes to the tombs, notices the open door, and he shuts it and he locks it. He says, I don't want my wife wandering into that tomb, unknowing that she's already in there. So he's locking her into this tomb, into this cave system. This cave system is completely dark. She is trapped. She is pregnant. And she's going to exist in these underground caves for many, many years. She's going to give birth to her son. She's going to raise her son in complete darkness. What a great story. I could not resist getting this paperback book, even though I own the Kindle. It was only $4.49. I'm not sure I'm going to keep this. I may gift this to someone who wants to read this fabulous story, When Darkness Loves Us. There is a second novella, I believe it's called On Beauty. Not quite sure. It's a good novella, but not as good as When Darkness Loves Us. But this, the first novella, as I said, absolutely fabulous. And the last book I picked up as a gift for a friend. She was mentioning that she wanted to read The Tommyknockers, or she was asking me what I thought about The Tommyknockers by Stephen King. I mentioned that The Tommyknockers does not get a very good reputation among most Stephen King fans, but I loved the premise of this story. And the premise of the story is there's a man somewhere out in Maine. He is walking along in the Maine woods, and he discovers that something is buried. And he starts curious, digging it up. Turns out it's a spaceship that was crashed hundreds, maybe thousands of years ago. I don't remember the exact details from the story, but strange things start happening as he starts uncovering this spaceship. As I said, a lot of people dislike this book or don't approve of this book. I thought it was okay. I originally read it when it first came out in hardcover, whenever that was. I'm pretty sure this is from the 80s, 1988 or thereabout. So I picked this up for a friend. I'm going to drop it in the mail in a few days, and it only cost me $4.99. So that is my purchasing power of $30.59. Yes, it was 59 cents. Yes, it was. From McKay's Books in Manassas, Virginia. I had a lot of fun. Thank you for watching, and keep on reading.